Hello, and welcome to this special session, Everywhere She Maps, She Makes the Difference. My name is Courtney Clark, and I serve as the Program Director of Everywhere She Maps for Youth Mappers. Soon you'll hear from the Everywhere She Maps regional ambassadors, as well as two of my colleagues, as they interview each other and explore the importance of gender equality in the field of geography. But first, I'd like to take a few minutes to provide a brief introduction to the problem of gender equality in geography and tech more broadly, and to the Everywhere She Maps program. This data shows the representation of respondents to an OpenStreetMap Foundation survey by gender from 2021. OpenStreetMap is a free and editable map of the world. It's the largest of its kind and is often compared to the Wikipedia of world maps. It's used by everyone from multinational companies to humanitarian responders to local municipalities who have GIS programs. It's an incredibly important and rich source of geographic data. However, experts estimate that only 2 to 5% of OpenStreetMap contributors are women. Perhaps maybe the maximum is about 8% of contributors. We don't have incredibly clear data. But this chart clearly shows that many, many more men than people of any other gender responded to the OpenStreetMap Foundation survey in 2021, and that cisgender men are disproportionately represented in OpenStreetMap to a significant and startling degree. In addition, only 30% of women who are higher education students choose to study STEM-related fields. Only 3% globally enroll in information and communication technology fields. And this map shows that of all researchers worldwide, only 33% are women. Science as a whole, including technology and geography, remain male-dominated. This map shows the share of female members of national science academies around the world. In fact, there is no country represented here that has more than 30% of members of its national science academy that are women. Why is this? Globally, what are the barriers that are preventing so many women from participating in geography and technology? One reason is the gender digital divide. We know that there's a massive gender gap in terms of mobile device ownership, as well as access to the internet, particularly in low and middle income countries. In addition, learning how to contribute to maps, learning how to map in OpenStreetMap, or simply studying geography, computer science, and other technical fields takes a lot of time and resources. And women are already unfairly burdened by an unequal distribution of unpaid domestic and care work. Globally, women spend approximately 4.2 hours daily on this work, compared to men who spend approximately 1.7 hours, which leaves them with a lot more free time to learn skills related to geography or to become involved in OpenStreetMap projects. In addition, we know that there is a significant lack of women in leadership roles. This graphic shows the percent of women in technical and leadership roles in select multinational technology companies. And this data is as recent as 2019. In addition, according to a study conducted by GIS Lounge, only 22% of GIS executives are women. There is some good news, though. We know, and the data show, that women participate more in geo-related projects that intentionally recruit and include them. For example, an estimated 40% of the 5,000 students who participate in the Youth Mappers Network are women. And one of our partner NGOs, the Humanitarian OpenStreetMap, in 2018 estimated that about 28% of their volunteer mappers are women. The Youth Mappers Network is a global community of students, researchers, educators, and scholars that use public geospatial technologies to highlight and directly address development challenges worldwide. Youth Mappers was envisioned to fulfill the demand for open geospatial data access in all parts of our world. A generation of empowered young people has emerged from this movement, who have become leaders in creating resilient communities and have defined their world by mapping it. In 2020, Youth Mappers launched the Everywhere She Maps program. Critical features and attributes that are most relevant to women are missing from maps as a result of their underrepresentation in the geospatial field. Everywhere She Maps is a program designed to increase the participation of women and non-binary students within the Youth Mappers Network, OpenStreetMap, and rapidly expanding industries that utilize geospatial technologies. This program builds the technical capacity of women student mappers, enhances their professional and networking skills, and contributes to mapping projects focused on adding data relevant to women's needs. In closing, I'd like to introduce you to the 5 founding pillars of Everywhere She Maps. These pillars represent our understanding that everywhere women create and use maps, the benefits to society and the environment are incredible. And now I will pass things over to our incredible Everywhere She Maps regional ambassadors and my Youth Mappers colleagues who will explore each of these pillars in more detail. Thank you. In the first interview of this session, Stella Nacachua and Marcella Zabaios explore the connection between economic empowerment and inclusiveness and open mapping. Stella Maris is an active board member of the OpenStreetMap community in Uganda and has contributed to numerous projects applying GIS for the improvement of livelihoods and humanitarian response, including the COVID-19 rapid response in Uganda. He holds a bachelor's in land surveying and geomatics from Makerere University and was previously a Youth Mappers Leadership Fellow. Marcella Zabaios is the Managing Director for Youth Mappers, an international network of university student-led chapters that create and use public geospatial data and technologies to highlight and directly address development challenges worldwide.
Good afternoon. My name is Marcella Zabaios, and I'm the Managing Director for Youth Mappers. I joined the team in 2017, and back then, this network was made up of about 60 to 62 chapters and has grown to a network of 287 chapters across 62 countries. Although by the time this airs, I suspect that number will be outdated. It's incredible to think what we as a community have been able to establish and support through our capacity building programs, fellowships, the cohort of regional ambassadors who directly impact chapters, and the collaborative activities that are bringing together student leaders from across the world. Investing in youth and engaging them to represent the places they are from and the places they live in makes a difference. Through our newest campaign, Everywhere She Maps, we are promoting the participation of young women mappers, highlighting their contributions, not just the data, but their perspective to complete a fuller picture of the world. And while they generate local data, youth mappers are also data users who enter the workforce every year. And I'm very happy to introduce Stella Nacachua, Regional Ambassador for Everywhere She Maps.
Thank you so much, Marcella. That was so much of detail. Yes, my name is Stella Maris Nacachua, and I am Everywhere She Maps Regional Ambassador, currently also a graduate research assistant at West Virginia University. I hold a Bachelor of Science in Land Surveying and Geomatics, and I'm currently doing my master's in geography here at West Virginia University. And my interests straddle geospatial, governance, and gender, like in the broader framework of regional development. I come from the suburbs of Kampala in Uganda, but currently I'm residing in Morgantown, West Virginia.
Wonderful. Thank you, Stella. And thank you for sitting with us today and telling us more about your work and the work you and your colleagues at Geo Youth Mappers, the Youth Mappers chapter at Makerere University, have organized since 2016. Over the past 5 years, you and your peers have had the opportunity to create and collaborate with a variety of organizations and institutions across departments and schools, and you've applied geospatial thinking, techniques, and tools to so many themes. Because this work directly impacts the well-being and has the potential to improve the livelihoods of local communities, your work fits well under the Prosperity Rises pillar of Everywhere She Maps, correct?
Yes, it does. I mean, talk about the current ongoing outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic and the climate change discourse that is ongoing. Prosperity for women is such a key concern, and it's like timely for us to build prevalency and bridge and connect communities, and strengthening women's leadership is something that we need to look at. Yes, it fits.
I mentioned earlier that Geo Youth Mappers has been an affiliated Youth Mappers chapter for many, many years, and that you and your team have explored the application of tools and platforms to address a variety of local challenges. Can you tell me a little bit more about the projects the chapter has supported over the past few years?
Yes, that's a really, really long story. Geo Youth Mappers joined the entire consortium of Youth Mappers in 2016. And since then, I was particularly just as a leader in the chapter, and I have grown through that to Everywhere She Maps Regional Ambassador. But we have done quite a good amount of work in terms of projects and in terms of like opening up use of open source tools and OpenStreetMap as a platform for communities, but also for authorities within the different municipalities in the country to do quite a number of projects that talk about collecting data for community resilience and addressing SDGs like 6, which really focuses on WASH, sanitation, water and sanitation, and then decent work and economic growth, sustainable cities and communities. There is so much to mention. Maybe specifically is we've talked about, we've done projects around locating vulnerabilities into floods, and then waste mapping. I could talk in detail about all the kinds of projects that Geo Youth Mappers has done in the bid to like strengthen and build resilience for communities in Uganda.
Absolutely. And did the choice to use open mapping tools benefit these projects? And if so, how so?
Yes. First and foremost, using open source tools and using OpenStreetMap is quite, I wouldn't say it's an early concept, but it's very new in a community where I come from. So each time we move out and create and expose our leadership in our communities to how available these tools are to collect data and improve the quality of information that authorities do have to simplify and quicken decision making. I think that's one of the benefits that our project has really, really provided, that we have easier ways that we can collect information and improve the way we make decisions and create impact in our own communities, change livelihood.
That's amazing. And can you tell us more about your experience and the role that you played in these projects?
Yes, my experience is huge. I would say that it's been a learning curve for me as an individual, but also understanding and learning about team building, because that's the entire concept of Youth Mappers, building geospatial leaders that utilize geospatial tools to address community challenges. And my role was basically to build my team and also conceptualize the project with other collaborators that we had, because we really didn't do this project as Geo Youth Mappers alone, but we worked with so many other actors, INGOs and NGOs in the country. So those are some of the experiences that we got from there.
That's wonderful to hear. And what did you and your team learn from these projects? Like, what sort of lessons learned could you share?
I could say there is so much that we did learn as a team. However, I think we understood the value of field and community engagement. This is something that doesn't often come through the academia, I should say. And having OpenStreetMap and Youth Mappers bring this to students, moreover at undergraduate level, like just entry into understanding professionalism and practice, being able to engage communities, being able to collaborate, being able to build teamwork, and being able to understand the tools themselves. Like, it was kind of like, it built curiosity among my fellows and myself to keep searching and to keep building and to keep being inquisitive about what best and how best we can approach and create and improve our communities with our efforts and our knowledge.
Absolutely. And did you face any challenges in the field?
Yes, we did. I come from Uganda, I said that. And one of the challenges we grapple with as a country is connectivity. It's not so vast. Even when it's in the city, it's still scanty in some areas. So in some areas like the urban informal settlements that we did projects in, like the waste mapping and the locating vulnerability to flooding, you find yourself that connectivity was quite a challenge. And other challenges like the complex schedules, the unbearable field weather that we had to go through, and sing on resilience and collect this data, and a few, I would say, visible quality issues, because we are all learners in the environment. And so we faced some of these, but I'm sure we were able to find solutions also to overcome, and also the inadequacy of tools to use as students.
Absolutely. And did your team's response to the challenges change your perspective on how to address issues and, anticipating future challenges in future projects?
I would say yes, because talking about the journey and the trajectory of GeoYouthMap as a single chapter, we started as a very small team, and basically seeking for space where to do what we wanted to do, because it was simply a desire of 7 girls who really felt that OpenStreetMap was something to benefit from for the community. But today, GeoYouthMappers as a team is over 100 members. Today, GeoYouthMappers has embedded, has pushed for the inclusion of OpenStreetMap as a module in the syllabi in class through our chapter patron. And this is a way of like increasing awareness, building the quality that we are talking about, so that we have everyone leveled with just the basic skills before we go to field. And also having the capacity, now that they are a larger number, the curiosity is over the bar, and they are able to think and, create projects that can actually source funding. GeoYouthMappers today can acquire its own funding, which didn't happen in 2016 while I was just a leader there. So it's something that we have learned from and we have improved over time.
Yes, absolutely. And it's been wonderful to watch that journey, I must say. So zooming out, pulling back a little bit and looking at the 2 areas you mentioned that your projects have been involved in or focused on, flood risk and waste management specifically, I'd like to center the second half of our conversation on how women are impacted. So what kinds of conditions exist within these challenging issues that directly affect women?
I would say coming from specific spaces as a girl child, going through university that is also in a specific place, we kind of have an abstract understanding of what society looks like. In having the ability to go to field, we were able to, I would say, understand and sit with these communities that we were actually, engaging and participating with, for example, in locating vulnerabilities, identify and see the spaces. We are talking about vulnerability, the Lake Victoria flooding and hitting this fishing bay, and women sit at the post of doing, I would say, they do labor, they're making money, they are doing what we would say fits in SDG 8, pulling up decent work and improving their economic capacity. But the conditions are kind of dire because women sit at the vulnerable ends of, these flood points. They sit in those zones. And it is something to learn about, because you wonder if it is categorically meant that women will be there, or it's a coincidence that they find themselves there. So learning about that vulnerability and being in field is so important, because it helps to understand the level and the situatedness of women in this aspect, but also the engagement of us, women ourselves, to acquire the leadership skills, to acquire the geospatial, technical capacity to do the work. So
Yeah.
it is very important for women to participate.
Absolutely. And as a young professional working towards finding solutions, as you mentioned, to these challenges that exist within your community and globally, how do you bring in this particular knowledge to how you approach these challenges from your lived experience? So what I'm really getting at is, how does the work impact you and how do you impact the work?
How does the work impact me? It changes my worldview. Saying that I get through university to get this level of professionalism, having the ability to sit through the Youth Mappers model and be able to engage before I actually go out, because I can't talk about how many projects we did because there are really many. These are just 2 projects that we are talking about, but I engaged in quite a number before I even reached my final year of school. Changing my perception of the lived reality, being able to understand and being able to position myself. On the other hand, I would say is that knowing that there is so much that needs to be done. I would say that fellows, women and the gender of my generation, sometimes we sit into discussions and we talk about equal opportunity and we tell each other about how we have equal opportunity. But when you go to field and sit in such environments and collect data on locating vulnerability to floods, and find out that women actually sit at the skirts of, where the floods actually hit the most, for them to be able to survive and provide for their, families and make money and improve their welfare. I would say it's valuable knowledge to be in there. And also it teaches us to know that there is so much to be done to create awareness, to cultivate leadership, to build women's ability to speak up when conditions are uncomfortable, and not take pride in what we would say the struggle, and speak up and know that this is an injustice and unfairness that authorities need to look into and address. Like, have the gender focus, proportionate, like have the gender lens when doing the distribution of housing, electricity, and all that, because women sit on the vulnerable sides. When you look, talk about the waste mapping project, I think women are mostly in the markets. I remember as we did the project, you find that women sat in those markets mostly. And if we are talking about waste disposal and illegal dumping, that means they are the most vulnerable for any outbreaks, like health outbreaks, like cholera, diarrhea, those communicable diseases.
Absolutely. And your response has been incredibly complete. You went ahead and answered the question I was about to ask, which is, why is it important for women to be part of creating and implementing these solutions, and why it's important to contribute their point of view and knowledge on this topic? Yes, I completely agree with you.
I would add to that and say that it's actually not only in field work, but we have to examine the constructs of how we do what we do and why we are collecting such data and who we are collecting it for. So women have to be at every part of that construct. If it's data collection, women should be part. If it's a discourse, women need to be part. And if it's a field research, women have to be part, because they only can voice their challenges. They only have a unique sight to what their challenges are or how they uniquely feel about their struggles.
And through your work, through Everywhere She Maps, as we're trying to build and incorporate this knowledge into open maps to make this information widely available, this is important because it asks us to reflect on who creates the map and who sets mapping standards. And the answer really helps us fuel the energy that we are bringing to include more women to participate. Would you agree?
Yes. Increased participation of women, increased input for example, maps. We need more attributes that speak about women's issues. And basically, that's what Everywhere She Maps is doing. And I agree, it's very important, because it's what is going to shift the standard. If we don't have all this data and this content, if we don't have these unique perceptions coming through, then barely do we know what we are supposed to be addressing, and then we might even form the wrong research questions in the first place.
Exactly. And as a leader in this space for so many years, what are some concrete steps that the OSM community could take to drive progress on the inclusion and participation of women, do you think, in this, more sort of technical space of geography?
I think first and foremost, I applaud everywhere she maps, because it certainly kind of compounds all my ideas of what should be done. The first and foremost is training, increase the training, provide training and capacity building for the girl child in STEM, in geospatial technology, and also neutralize the geospatial workforce, because we know that women in STEM are, a proportion, just a small fraction of the entire global workforce. And we need more of those to have an equal say, to have a balanced action for both women or for all gender. And it is also doing the campaigns of collecting data, increase women attributes in all you map, and it doesn't matter what language it is. I think this is the beauty, that I come from where I come from, and I can uniquely, include, embed all information as we understand it as a community, as any other chapter do understand it as a community, and understanding our, through the trainings, understanding our challenges and how unique our challenges are, because it's very easy to be gender blind, very, very easy to be gender blind because of the notion of equal opportunity. Like, we are equal opportunity right now, which is not true.
Thank you, Stella, so much for letting me interview you today. And I hope that your message resonates deeply with our community. Thank you so much.
It's been an honor. Thank you so much.
Our second interview features Jariatu Jallo and Laura Mugeha. They will be speaking about how everywhere she maps, power is generated. Daria is a third-year computer science student in the University of the Gambia. She is fueled and fulfilled by projects that solve challenges in her community and better the lives of individuals, especially solutions that positively impact the lives of women and youth. She loves mapping, and generally, she loves making things easier for people. Given that in the Gambia, about 70% of streets and buildings remain unmapped, in March 2018, she registered the first OpenStreetMap chapter in the University of the Gambia. She is also the founder and CEO of Yonima, a geospatially powered errands running company in the Gambia. Laura Mugeha is a geospatial engineer working in the intersection of open technology, open data, and development. She currently works with a social enterprise in Kenya to support teams in using data for good. Additionally, Laura is a Youth Mappers Regional Ambassador, where she supports chapters in East and Central Africa. In her free time, she volunteers with local open data and free and open source software communities.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this part of this session. We'll be talking about one of the pillars for the Everywhere She Maps initiative called the Power is Generated pillar. My name is Laura Mugeha. I am joining in today from Nairobi in Kenya, where I currently live and work. I have a background in geomatics and currently work for a social enterprise here called Synergy. Other than that, I also support the Youth Mappers Network as a regional ambassador, where I support chapters within the region through technical training and other forms of development. Joining me today will be Jaria. So Jaria, kindly tell us more about yourself.
Oh, hi. I'm already inspired about you, what you do. You do a lot of things. So my name is Raya Ahmada. I'm from the Gambia. I'm the president of the Youth Mappers chapter in the Gambia at the University of the Gambia. I'm also the president of the chairperson for the OpenStreetMap community in the Gambia. So I do a lot of things around OpenStreetMap. I believe in open data so much. Yeah, I'm also a regional ambassador doing Everywhere She Map under the project of the regional ambassadors. yeah, so we'll be talking about power is generated. We're talking about my side, and I think you'll be doing some talking too, even though you will be the interviewer. So it's gonna be a two-way thing. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, sure. So we'll just get right into it. So when you're talking about power and that everywhere she maps power is generated, could you briefly explain to us what this means and why you're interested in this pillar in particular?
It's a fascinating thing. I think it's one of it says the pillars of what the everywhere map stand for. So it's when you hear about everywhere map, you hear about women, right? You will hear about power created or power mapping. So that's very fascinating. So it's one of the pillars of everywhere map where power is generated through women involvement in open source and open data. For example, let's just say a Mapillary project, for women to be able to access to places for hospital or, for a gender-based activity place. And an example in Tanzania, crowd mapping, where women will map FGM places and all that. So it's more of like, women being part of the power that is generated from the open source data. So, which is very fascinating.
Interesting. Because I think for a lot of people, when we look at how this pillar is named, and even when you go through the website, you might tend to think you're just talking about power and in the telecommunication space. But we are actually also talking about power and female empowerment, women empowerment. And even as you mentioned, some of the examples of how mapping is currently being used to empower women and girls around the world. So could you share also a bit more the relationship between open mapping and power? Because these seem to be two different topics. So where do these two meet? And how does one enable or sort of inform the other?
Yeah, for me, it's not that different because I think the open source, it's like you mentioned, and it's open, so it's easily accessible for women, and it's easily accessible for people to be able to generate power in that. So it's might be, some people might think that, oh, it's different, but it's not that quite different. It's more of like trying to involve more women in open mapping, more women who will be able to access, giving back the example of the FGM mapping for the crowd mapping in Tanzania. They do a lot of mapping, they do a lot of adding so many data that is accessible. For example, if there's an FGM, happening, or if there's anything that the government or the health facilities need to be aware of, they put that thing in. So it's really connected. It gives us more leverage, because it's open, and then it gives more women to be able to do and contribute their work in an open source data.
Amazing. So great to hear all those examples. And if I don't know if we have any examples, can you tell us about a time when you personally, or a woman or girl that was affected by this topic? Are there any use cases that you can share with us today?
Maybe you can share. I think you have more knowledge in that, but yes, I think one of the two things I know I can share is I did participate in a Mapillary project where we map healthcare system, for easily accessible for women. And then since we're, we're under 22 years dictatorship, the victim centers and all that. So I was part of the group that were mapping the facilities that people, can say, okay, if we're a victim of the former president of abuse, this is the place you need to get to and all that. But yeah, let's see if you have any more examples that will be more fascinating.
Yeah, sure. I can share more about the Youth Mappers project in Sierra Leone on power mapping, where chapters within the region were basically mapping a number of areas to sort of show the access to like the access to electrical connectivity. And by this project, in as much as we are mapping how communities are connected to electricity, especially rural communities, a lot of female mappers or a lot of female students are engaged in the process, which in turn sort of empowers them in terms of the knowledge they acquire. In as much as they're using this power mapping project, it's the same skills could be used or sort of applied in other projects. But also at the same time, when you're looking at the energy sector and how women and girls in rural Africa interact at home, it's mostly, you'll find that it's women who sort of involved in things like cooking and all that. And in rural Africa, people still use methods such as the use of firewood, which has a lot of health, not good impacts, bad health impacts. So we, by this power mapping project and making more communities to be connected to official electrical lines, then they're able to shift sort of things like cooking methods, enabling them to be able to use more sustainable methods that are good for their health. Another example still under this power mapping project is also still looking at rural Africa. A lot of children, when you get back home and they have to do their homework and probably do some extra studying, still, I guess half of the population are women and girls, meaning that by also making more communities to be connected, they're able to have also better methods that they can use for studying. So as opposed to using what we all know is common in rural Africa as well, use of candles or other methods that are not as good as well. We're making sure that these communities also have access to electricity all through the night and are able to do more activities, which includes things like studying. Other than that, I think all the other examples that you've shared are also great, especially for girls also in rural Africa. When we're looking at things like FGM, so by mapping health facilities and police posts and actually routes and showing them that in case of an incident, you can access this facility by using this route. That is empowerment in its way because you're able to protect this girl and protects their future as well, which directly can be seen as power. So I think generally there are so many examples on how open mapping has been used and can be used in this when you're talking about power. So I guess we can move to the next one, which is why do you think it's important for women, not just women, but everyone to talk about this topic? Why is it important to talk about power?
Data, because it involves data and data is power. So I think that's why many people, want to have access to it. Like, the data is the new money or the new whatever they call it. But especially for women, it's important for us to be part of it because most of the data that affect us. So it's important for a woman to be, a representative. For example, all this example we have, if it's a man or somebody who just, an enthusiast mapper who is doing that, he might not do it justice, but a woman will surely do it justice and uphold the etiquette and doing everything that is right to make sure that data and the what is available is it's fact and it's real and it's tangible. So that's very important. That's why I think women have to be part of it. I don't know the male side, they have their own decision, their own reasons. But for women, yes, we have to be, because especially if it have to be involved with us. So we have to take power. We have to take control of our data. We have to see if it's fact what they're saying. For example, you don't just map an FGM center if it's not an FGM center for health crisis. For example, if you just run in and you run into something that is not, it's not good for you. So, which is very important. So I urge every woman, everybody to be part of it. Just take a hold of your data. It's open source, so you own your own data. So be proud of owning your own data and be proud of putting it that way.
Yeah, very true, and quite powerful that you've just shared that it's very important for us to take part, for us to share our thoughts, our voice to be heard as well, because that's the only way that when solutions are being implemented by different institutions, whether if it's government or private organizations, they're able to also cater for our needs. If they're not shared and if these discussions are not held, then no one would know what's actually happening on the ground and what people actually need, or specifically what women need. And as we wind up, any parting words?
Yeah, just to add on to that, when we have a representative, for example, if it's like, with the woman thing or something, the man or someone who doesn't know will just assume. But if there's a representative, if there's a woman who understands a particular issue, they will never assume. They will tell you what is there and what is not there. So I just wanted to add that and put it across that how important it is for us to be part of it, and how important it is to own and control the data that it's centered around us.
Yeah, sure. I guess that still also just emphasizes what you'd shared earlier, and which I guess is a great point that needs to be passed across. Yeah. So other than that, I don't know if you have anything else to share in general under this topic.
I think we're on the right path. Everywhere you map is on the right path. Having this project is very important. And then, when we begin, you're in East Africa, I'm in West Africa, but we still have the same problems. We still have the same way we think, the same thing that affect us, is the same way everywhere for women. So it's very important, like I always say, it's very important for us to take a hold of our data, to control what is going around us. The moment they say it's a woman or it's a society, we have to take control of it. We have to control the data, and then we just, be part of it. So that's what I would say, just be part of it and create more power.
Amazing. So I think that will be it from us. Thank you so much for sharing, Jaria. I guess also same for me. Our main takeaway is that as we are carrying out our projects, I guess one thing that would be important to assess is how does your project empower women? How does it create more power? And it doesn't have to be any specific project. It can be in the health sector, in the education sector, in whichever sector. As they say, in as much as all the sustainable development goals are important, the only goal that cross-cuts all of them is gender equality. So meaning for each of those, there's a way in which you can empower women and you can create a more equal world. So with that, we'll end it there and go ahead and wish everyone a great day, wherever you might be joining us from.
Yeah, thank you. You are an amazing interviewer.
Our third interview focuses on the role of mapping and geographic data in improving security, particularly for women and girls. Natalia da Silveira Arruda is an architect and urbanist from Federal University of Rio Grande do Sul in Brazil, and she has a master's in territorial, urban, environmental, and landscape planning from Polytechnic of Turin in Italy. She is currently a PhD student in urban planning at Arizona State University in the United States. She worked as a professor at Universidad de Antioquia in Colombia from 2016 to 2021, where she helped found the Youth Mappers Chapter GeoLab. Natalia is a Youth Mappers regional ambassador for Everywhere She Maps, and her interests include urban planning, sustainable mobility, collaborative, and humanitarian mapping. She'll be joined by Dara Carney-Needleman, who works as a Youth Mappers communication specialist. Dara manages Youth Mappers social media and supports the planning and organization of virtual engagement activities for the network. Dara is passionate about youth development and truly believes that mapping brings us together.
Hello, I'm Dara Carney-Needleman. I work as Youth Mappers Communication Specialist, and today I'll be interviewing Natalia. And Natalia, I'll pass it to you now to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Dara. Hi, my name is Natalia da Silveira Ruda. I am a regional ambassador for Everywhere She Maps program in Latin America of Youth Mappers. I am also a PhD student in urban planning at Arizona State University. And I am from Porto Alegre, Brazil, but I'm currently living in Tempe, Arizona, in the United States.
And Natalia, can you share what your professional and educational background is?
Yes, my educational background is in architecture and urbanism. I have a bachelor in architecture and I'm a Master of Science in urban planning. And my research interests are related to 3 lines of interests. There are land use and urban growth, mobility and transportation, and GIS applied to collaborative process, and other interrelationship among these 3 lines.
And today I know you're interested in and plan to speak on the Everywhere She Maps program pillar, focusing on how open mapping improves security. Can you please tell us why you're interested in this topic?
I am very interested in this pillar, how security improves, because mapping security issues can assure that places considered safe or services that offer the right attention to people in difficult situations are on the map, and that means that people can find them, their location, their opening hours, the services they provide, and mapping them in a platform like OpenStreetMap allows people to get access to this data without costs and under a common creative license, which means that you can volunteer to create or aggregate data. You can use your local knowledge to corroborate this information. You can download it and use it in your own project or insert this data in another apps. So it's very important to create open geospatial information also regarding security issues. And on the other hand, it is also important mapping sites where conflict, violence, or environmental disruption occurs. This type of information must be mapped also in order to identify problems and make a call for change. And by this, I mean mobilize civil society and other institutions to demand that this problem is addressed.
Thank you, Natalia. And can you please describe a mapping activity that you were part of that addressed improving security in your community?
As I said, I am involved with this pillar, security improves, or more oriented to mapping mobility in urban areas. So I can share with you a project that I coordinated in. It's called SIG en Bici. SIG en Bici in Spanish means SIG is the acronym is the translation for GIS. So it will be like GIS on bike, but it's nice because in Spanish you have a double meaning that is like keep cycling. So this is the short name that we decided to give to the project SIG en Bici, and it's a collaborative mapping project of cycling infrastructure for create optimization routes and thematic maps for the metropolitan area of Medellin in Colombia, where I have been lived for many years. And in SIG en Bici, we worked as youth map chapters with a group of cyclists to update the entire existing cycling infrastructure in the city of Medellin. And we have made a great effort to to adapt the existing conditions, the physical conditions of the cycling infrastructure to all the system of tags that we have in OpenStreetMap. And we published these all these relations of tags in a guide, and a step-by-step guide that we put available on the internet. And also we created a survey to understand better cyclist profile, their routes they follow, their motivation, and their perceptions also about the environment. So we were able to collect this information, map it, and analyzed in a series of charts and thematic maps that are also provided in our webpage.
That's great to hear how collaborative it was based with the community, Natalia. So can you share a bit about what you learned from the SIG BC project, the results of the project?
Yes, of course. We were very happy with our results. We received a number of responses that were equivalent 72% of the orange destination survey that is officially conducted by the local government in the metropolitan area. So it was a good number of answers. And concerning gender, we found that we had just 36% of female participation. It's not so much, but anyway, it was like higher than the official numbers that you could saw in the origin destination of the metropolitan area. And also we found that women choose to follow the bicycle paths more than shared lanes. This means that they prefer avoid high traffic roads, contrary to the behavior of men that they use more alternative routes for their commutes. They are not so worried about safety perceptions and more worried about time and the continuity of the routes, you know, so they are able to spread more on the territory. And as we can see in this map that is on the screen, we created a map with all the perceptions of the cyclists. You can see in red the points that are considered unsafe, and on magenta the points that are considered safe or have a nice perception. So we can use this map to allow people understand better the conditions of the territory and select their routes regarding on this. And I believe it's a really nice tool for people, for women, but also for men to prepare their route in advance, knowing the territory. Yes.
That sounds like a very community-based project, so that's so great to hear, Natalia. And can you please share what you learned from this project, the results of SIG BC?
Yes, of course. So we received a really great number of responses that reached the equivalent of 72% of the same of the sample that the origin destination survey from the metropolitan area of Medellin, the official survey that they conducted in our area. And concerning gender, the female participation was equivalent to only 36% compared to 62% of male participation. And we also found that women choose to follow more bicycle paths and bicycle lanes and not so much the shared lanes, the common roads, you know, preferring to avoid high traffic roads. Contrary to the behavior of men, they don't care so much about if the cycling infrastructure is in their routes, you know. They use more alternative routes for their commutes, and for this reason, they are more spread out in the territory.
And Natalia, I would be interested in, and I think our audience would be interested in hearing why women choose these different routes in comparison to men.
Yeah, we also found that their preference for bicycle paths or shared routes could be explained by the self-perception they of the females, the women, about their own level of experience. As you can see here in this map that we have on the screen, we obtain results that indicate that women perceive themselves to be less experienced in cycling than men, despite not having this proportional relationship with the time they have been cyclists. I mean, we saw a lot of women that tell us that they have more time than men sometimes being cyclists, but they perceive themselves less experienced. What can be the impact of this less confidence that women have on their self? This can limit the routes they can select on the territory when they will move. This can limit also the times they will select to move. Maybe also the ability to women to commute alone. They will have to wait someone or wait to be in a group to commute. So this can limit a lot women and mobility in the city. We can see here in this map, we have a lot of points. All these points were mapped by the cyclists in our survey. The red points here are points that are considered unsafe. And the magenta points are points that are considered safe. We can clearly see that they don't overlap. So this map, I believe, is a really nice tool that people can use to program their commute and avoid certain areas instead of others. And this can give, in a certain way, more confidence to people that don't perceive themselves so experienced using the bike. Yeah. And this kind of information is very important because when a girl or woman has to think about, for example, we know that a lot of women or girls, they have to think about what clothes to wear to go out, depending on the path they will pass. Or we know that some women are forced to pay more for safer transportation, and this really can affect their issue of safety.
Thank you for sharing all of this informative information, Natalia, and it's really great to hear that there's this resource for women in Medellin to use. So I think something else that others would be curious about is some of the lessons that you personally learned as a result of leading the SIGIN BC project. If you'd like to share about that.
Yeah, much of the activities that we have been developing was in virtual mode due to the pandemic, the COVID. So we learned a lot about how we needed to restrict some activities, and these we had to pass most of our activities to remote activities, in virtual activities. This take from us much more time than we expected. However, the fact that the project was structured in a collaborative approach allowed us to overcome these difficulties presented and move towards its conclusion. So I know I learned a lot about the importance to apply community-based participatory approach to projects involving, in this case, the cycling community from the beginning of the project. And this has guaranteed us to address the issues of interest to the community and that the really problems were addressed.
Thank you for sharing, Natalia. And now I'm curious, from your experiences with the SIGIN BC project as a Youth Mappers faculty advisor, a regional ambassador, and now an Everywhere She Maps regional ambassador, why do you feel it is important that women are included and leading the conversations when collecting and creating maps?
It is very important because, we have a lot of gender issues, and gender and security are completely intersect. Since the safety of women and even, LGBTIQ plus community has not yet been guaranteed in many parts of the world. So it's very important to bring gender diversity to the mapping community, since cartography is the representation of the territory from someone's perception. No matter how objective is the information that is being added to the map, it always will pass through someone's filter that will say what is or is not necessary to map. So having a diversity of people generating geospatial information in a certain way can ensure that the data will respond to the needs of a more diverse group.
I completely agree, Natalia, completely. So can you share about when you realized, or what did you realize when you started addressing issues related to gender equality in the geospatial community?
When I started to take action on gender issues, on gender equality, I became aware of the responsibility to share knowledge oriented to empower and motivate other women with less experience than me. And one way that I found be quite effective is through example. And by this, I mean my own example, as women, guiding people, training other women, open doors for more women to have other possibilities. And for this reason, I believe that women who are in leadership positions should share their experience, motivating other women to open their paths and overcome existing barriers.
Exactly. And that's a great segue into my final question, Natalia. Asking, do you have any advice related to gender-oriented mapping that you would like to share with the audience?
Yes, I believe that my advice is that you should always ask yourself if you are addressing the issue of gender in an equitable way in any of your activities. When you are mapping in your work, when you are creating projects, anywhere, we should ask ourselves this. Because as a society, we still have a series of prejudices and barriers to overcome. And gender-oriented mapping also is necessary to make existing gaps visible and draw attention to essential security issues that affect the lives of countless women around the world.
Thank you, Natalia. Your passion and drive show through in everything you've shared with us today. So thank you so much for your time. And unless there's anything else you would like to add, that concludes the interview.
Just thank you, Dara, for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Innovation increases exponentially when we make technology spaces more inclusive and welcoming to all people. In this interview, Indapile Makubu and Raya Ahmada will discuss their experiences implementing innovative solutions to issues faced by their communities. Indapile is an instructor at the African Drone and Data Academy and also serves as a Youth Mappers Regional Ambassador. Her recent projects have involved integrating drone and open data technology to solve some of the challenges that her community faces. Raya Ahmada is an assistant lecturer at the State University of Zanzibar, a mentor and student advisor. She is very passionate about data science and is researching in the areas of open source GIS tools, database administration, data analysis, and web application development. She is also keen on mentoring students to come up with innovative ideas to solve existing problems in the community. She has worked with students in several development projects, such as the STEM for Success project of Zanzibar, as a technical assistant with KioKit, a digital classroom technology, and with the Resilience Academy as an internship coordinator to help equip youth with the tools, knowledge, and skills to ensure resilient urban development. She is also the faculty mentor for the State University of Zanzibar's Youth Mappers chapter. She is currently a Youth Mappers Regional Ambassador in Tanzania and is leading the Zertech initiative at her university with the aim of helping young girls to excel in technology.
Okay. Hi, my name is Ndabile Nku. I am based in Malawi, and I am a national instructor at the African Drone and Data Academy. I am also serving as a regional ambassador for Youth Mappers under the Everywhere She Maps. So as an instructor, our organization is basically geared towards equipping African youth with 21st century skills through drone and data technology. And when I'm not an instructor or regional ambassador, sometimes I'm freelancing drone mapping jobs with organizations that are basically using drones for good. And on the call, I have Raya, so I'm just going to let her introduce herself.
Thank you, Ndabile. My name is Raya Ahmada, an assistant lecturer at the State University of Zanzibar. I'm also working closely with the Youth Mappers, as I am the faculty advisor of SUSE Youth Mappers. But I'm also working as a regional ambassador in Zanzibar, Tanzania. Apart from the work that I'm doing, I also mentor other group of students that we are focusing on technology. And the aim is to inspire, motivate, and support students, especially girls in upper primary and secondary schools, to follow or to be interested in STEM-related subjects and STEM-related fields. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So today we're going to talk about one of the 5 pillars under the Everywhere She Maps initiative, which is innovation happens. And Everywhere She Maps, innovation happens. So this is of particular interest to me because in most cases, working as a regional ambassador and as an instructor, I'm constantly witnessing the power of open data, the power of imagery, and the power of just thinking innovatively and coming up with innovative methods to sort of help different communities. I've firsthand witnessed a project that was using drone imagery to sort of combat malaria that different communities here in Malawi experience. So I'm going to go into that later on during the interview, but for now, I'm just going to ask you, Raya, that what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear that Everywhere She Maps, innovation happens?
What comes into my mind is that the Everywhere She Maps program doesn't focus only on developing mappers and open data, but also the usage of that open data to tell a story that has happened in the past and to use the data sets to help make decisions about the future. You know, when people or when the mappers or people are exposed to open data, they could come up with different solutions based on using that data to come up with the innovative project or innovative program or software using the available data, because we know that data is everything. So with data, of course, innovations happens because most people using one data set, different people are seeing that data in a very different perspective. An educator could see the same data into a different perspective than another one that is working into a different field. For example, it could be a doctor or in health or in politics, etc., etc.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I totally agree with you on that one. So do you have any projects that you've been part of that is built around the Everywhere She Maps Innovation Happens pillar? Like if you've been involved in that, maybe you can share more, and also just briefly walk us through how you think the data that you're collecting is going to help bridge the gender gap that is currently there.
Okay. I could talk about the school mapping project, a project that we are currently working on. And while I was writing the proposal of that project, at first I looked at the needs that is being there. Working under the educational sector, I know the needs or the challenges that education sector is facing right now, and that's why I proposed the school mapping project. And the school mapping project is not only collecting the school's location, but in addition to that, we are collecting the ICT data that is available in all the schools across Africa. But of course, across Zanzibar. But we have started with the secondary schools because what we are trying to achieve is to have a data set that will help the Ministry of Education and other stakeholders that want to help the ministry to devise or to come up with the solutions that addresses the help of internet accessibility into those schools. So we are trying to collect the ICT data into those schools and trying to find out which of the schools have which facilities, as well as seeing which educational development projects have been there before. So as I have said, that the data is telling a story of what has happened in the past, so that we come with the informed decisions to help in the future. So in the project, we are going to have a data set that will be helpful to the ministry itself to make informed decision, but also we have partnered with the Liquid Telecom, who's using the same data so as to help them plan proper facilities or how they plan so that they provide internet connectivity across, into all the schools across Zanzibar. So you could see, as I have said, the data is being used in different perspectives. In addition to that, because Youth Mappers is working under the Open Data Initiative as well, we are also planning to upload the data into the OpenStreetMap. As currently we have been going through the OpenStreetMap, and the schools data that is available there is, of course, is quite small compared to the available schools in Zanzibar. So we know, of course, we know the place better. We know the schools that most of the schools are not on the OpenStreetMap. So if somebody outside Zanzibar looks at the OpenStreetMap and he finds about 100 schools, but in reality, we have more schools than that. So we are also trying to do that to help local organizations as well as international organizations. And that data, I believe, is really helpful not only to the Ministry of Education itself, but also to international organizations like UNICEF, who are trying really hard to help the education sector.
All right.
And I think you have asked something else as well. Yeah. Okay.
My question was like, how do you think the data that you're collecting is going to help or improve the gender gap that we have, the existing gender gap that we have?
Okay. You could see it. Maybe it is not directly, but what I'm thinking is now that we are trying to have the existing data of the schools, the government, the Ministry of Education and the government, of course, can take efforts to improve those schools that are, they are having bad conditions, like they don't have electricity and stuff like that, in internet connectivity. In doing so, we believe that this will lead to number of dropout students to decrease. And we know that if there are many dropouts, it means those who are affected more are women, because women are the ones who are taking care most of the time, especially in our area. Those are the ones who are taking care of the kids. So if their kids are dropping out of school before he finishes or she finishes up, then it's a mother who is taking care of the child, and she's affected directly. So we are looking into it in that perspective. But in addition to that, we are also collecting the number of girls and number of boys that are available into those classes. And that will help us know if we have gender gap that exist, especially into science subjects or STEM related subjects. Yeah.
The drone mapping project that I was talking about. So an organization called Malawi Livable Welcome Trust was basically doing mapping in Kasungu, which is a district in the center of Malawi. They were trying to use drone imagery to identify malaria breeding sites because this particular area is known for high malaria numbers. And ideally, we know that once a person's sick, the person that's ideally going to take care of the sick person is going to be the woman. So this means that everything stops, and because the attention needs to now be focused on the person that's sick in the household. So the project is harnessing drone imagery power. It's also harnessing data technology, which is GIS. They're using GIS analysis to sort of identify potential breeding sites. So once they identify these sites, that would be hard to otherwise just pick out by manually transacting the area. They are able to do it more efficiently. And I think the community has also been very welcoming to the project. And it's a project that's being led by a female, which is a good thing at the end of the day, because I feel like once there's a woman that's leading a project, there are certain aspects that we're able to identify that would otherwise not be tackled if there wasn't any woman in a leadership position. So I also think that project's going to benefit the community because malaria will be combated, and certain burdens that come because of a sick person in a household can also be eliminated. So that's one of the projects that I think are pretty interesting and are taking place here in Malawi. All right. With that being said, maybe we could also talk about how you think the Everywhere She Maps is going to change the GIS and tech space, maybe in the next 5 years.
From my side, I think it's going to help increase the number of female participation, as Everywhere She Maps program has some programs or initiatives that it has started. For example, the Everywhere She Maps internship program, which is kind of helping building capacity, especially to female students. If females have the same, it will reach a point where women or girls and boys, or women and men, have the same skills, needed skills in the job market. So it's helping a lot in that, and it's going to bridge the gender gap that exists into this kind of fields, in the GS field in particular.
Okay, I do totally agree with you on that one, because some issues do come up with with the approach that's being taken in trying to empower women. There's another approach that's just there to put women in certain positions without actually giving them the right skills for, say, a job. But I feel like what Everywhere She Maps is doing is it's built on capacity building, again, with the internships and just empowering regional ambassadors that are going out there and just encouraging more female participation, conducting trainings. And I feel like this is surely leveling the playing field. And yeah, 5 years looks like the gender gap will be closed, at least close enough to actually make a difference. Yeah. All right, Raya.
Yeah, I agree
I think
with
that's
you.
all.
Okay.
Yes. That's all the questions that I had for you today. Thank you very much for making time. It's really nice talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure.
In our final interview of the session, we'll have the opportunity to learn from two women who have extensive experience using map, data, and geospatial technology to help save lives in their home country of Bangladesh. Maliha Binte Muhyiddin is a Bangladeshi PhD geography student at West Virginia University. Her passion for the nexus of geospatial technologies and women's empowerment has been enriched by receiving her undergraduate and master's studies in disaster management and her work experience as an Everywhere She Maps regional ambassador. Irene Akhtar is currently also working as an Everywhere She Maps regional ambassador. She completed her master's and bachelor's of science in geography and environment at the University of Dhaka. She has been with Youth Mappers Dhaka University chapter since it was first started in 2016. She received a Youth Mappers Research Fellowship in 2018. Irene has skills in implementing research methodology, assisting in data management, and analyzing the results of research. Her educational background and experiences reflect a commitment and ability to plan, design, and implement research activities, training management, mapping projects, and communication with local people. Her interests include disaster risk management, gender inequality, climate and climate resilience, sustainable development, and humanitarian mapping.
Hi, this is Maliha Binte Muhyiddin, and I'm a PhD student, and I'm doing my major in geography from WVU. And I'm also serving as a Everywhere She Maps regional ambassador. And I have been the part of Youth Mappers since 2017. And today I'm very excited because I'm going to interview a person whom I really know from my university. And okay, there's one thing I forgot to mention, that I'm from Bangladesh, but right now I'm based in Morgantown because of my study purpose. So I'm going to introduce with you a very dynamic and very passionate person whom I know, and she is Irene Nila. So Irene, could you please introduce yourself to the audience?
Hello everyone, I am Irene Akhtar Nila from University of Dhaka. I have been completed my master's and BS honors from University of Dhaka in geography and environment, and currently I am working as a regional ambassador in Youth Mappers. And now I am working as a senior research associate in a consultancy firm in Bangladesh. Also, I work here as a GIS specialist. That's my background, and I am from Bangladesh also. Thank you, Maliha.
So, like, as I know that you have worked as a research fellow program, like in 2018. So could you please tell us a bit about the project that you have worked with?
Yeah, sure. I have selected as one of the fellows for Youth Mappers Research Fellowship Program in 2018. My project title was that use of OpenStreetMap to reduce the vulnerability of Omen in cyclone prone areas. So basically, I wanted to focus on Omen development and their reducing their vulnerabilities in disaster prone area, because they are more of victim of the disaster. So that was my first priority. Then I input there as a major that some kind of mapping and evacuation plan. So that was basically denoted as a native language based map, because of their convenience, or their particularly because of that they can input their thoughts on that evacuation plan. So I thought that that would be better for them to communicate with us. That's all.
Okay, so that's excellent. And I would like to ask you one question, like, how you're going to do the relationship between the open mapping and the native language-based evacuation plan in cyclone disaster in Bangladesh, because we are both from Bangladesh and we know that that's one of the most important issues. So how you are going to magnifying or defining the relationship between these two?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, here living in Bangladesh, you will familiar with disaster, because this is the, a very familiar issue here.
Yes.
There is coastal areas, people are suffering from cyclones, flood, etc., etc. So basically, what I would say that there is a really, really friendly relationship, because if you want to measure, or if you want to reduce the vulnerabilities for disaster, you have to have some management, right? You have to have some procedure or some process to gather people and then help them get out from that situation. So open mapping is that platform, actually. This platform will give you information and accessibility and everything you need, and you just need to make it as their need, like what they want from them. So what I would say that I wanted a native language map, and I used that open mapping for that purpose. So it was like a medium for me, and I was really happy to have that platform for that project.
Okay, great. Actually, as you know, that my background, I'm from disaster management background too. I studied my bachelor's and master's in there, and I can see how the paradigm has been shifted. Before we were really giving lots of focus on the disaster relief, but right now we are giving lots of focus in the disaster risk reduction, and how open mapping could be a part of it. It's really excellent that you have mentioned. So my next question is going to you, that could you please give us any kind of example of the project or a program where the open mapping was used to make a positive impact, especially to reduce the vulnerabilities for Omen in cyclone disaster prone areas?
Yeah, sure. This is one of the recent project, because this platform is not very spread in Bangladesh. Before 2016, we are both from that time, so we know that this platform is actually introducing to us in these days, right? We are here since 2016. So basically, what I have seen that American Red Cross has used this data or open mapping during a cyclone Amphan. They also mention this because of they actually evacuate more people from the cyclone prone area before the Amphan cyclone. Why? Because they know that place is going to be cyclone devastated area, so they are just evacuated evacuated the people from there, and they use that mapping because of, it is something like that everyone can input data on that platform, right? So it is a free platform. You and everyone can input data there, so that would be convenient for them. So maybe that's why they use that platform. Also, I have seen one of my junior who is working in a Virginia Tech right now. So she once told me that she actually now working on open platform, and this platform is spreading now. So I would say that this is actually a great news for us, right?
Yes, definitely. And I think the way you have described, there is so many insight that we can get from this topic. But I would more like to know about what was your involvement and your experience related with this.
Yeah, I would like to share this because I want to share my experience to, all over the world, so that people can engage more in this platform. So basically in 2018, I was in a master's student. So so during the starting of my project, I used this OpenStreet platform to navigate where I would go, where I would stay, or then what area I should cover. And then there, before I going to the field, I already knew that would be my obstacles, or that would be my advantage. So after going there, I have found many new things I have to face, like face a lot of problems too, because that was a very remote area from Bangladesh, not like a capital city or something like that. You need to do your work before before dusk. So that is very common there. So besides that, I really appreciate the people's hospitality, because they were like, someone is working for us. So they were so friendly, and they tried to communicate all of their efforts with all of their efforts. So that was one of my experience. Also, from professional thing, I would say that they really give me insight, like, I was like, what, people bear these things, or people face these things. I was shocked. One of my respondents said a story that during Ayla, she managed to
mention
go.
The year that happened, then that would be good for the audience. The cyclone Ayla.
It was in 2008.
Okay, yeah.
2008, yeah. So during Ayla, she was managed to go to the cyclone center because of it was in daytime. She said that if it is in night or something like that, after evening, that she couldn't manage to go there, because she doesn't know exact road, or which road she should pick, or she couldn't take a decision, I should go or not, because she had to ask his main person that she can go anywhere or not. This was like shocking, because this is about your life, right? So life really matters. So but they thought before that, I have to take permission, or I have to, should I go or not, should I take care of my house or not. This kind of things is very common there. I got this type of story from two women. And then one of my respondent husband was so curious about my projects, so I was described all my projects things. So he was like, it's not necessary, like we always go the cyclone shelter or anywhere else. My neighbor house have is a building. So she thought that a building can save from a cyclone. So that was one of my experiences I wanted to share with that, and I really want them to develop their self so that they can, like, they can at least assume what is the depth of these cyclones or what is the intensity of this disaster, so that they can take the measure, or they can save themselves
Actually, like, we are from the same country, we know the social context that, if we really need to work outside, sometimes after the evening we need to take some of the permission, like in from home, or I think, like, I completely understand, but during you have worked during this situation, that could you please tell us some of the challenges that you have faced, and
Yeah, sure.
how you have overcome those kinds of challenges? Because I think that would be really a very good lesson learning for the audience, and I think that there are so many females who are going to, like, hear you, and they will be inspired by that. So could you please tell us something about it? That would be really great.
Yeah, sure. The challenges was there, I must say, because I already mentioned the first challenge, because it was a remote area from Bangladesh. It was not that suitable for go around for a girl alone. It was not safe. And there was 9 ward. Ward means union subdivided some segregated some parts.
Yes, in
And
US it's called counties. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So there was some ward which is really near to the Sundarban area. There was no
mangrove forest.
Forest, and there was like very little transport. You will have to walk, and there is no road. Actually, there is a mud road, you can say that, like pavement, some kind of, you can walk there, but you have to walk only. But you can take any vehicle, any kind of, you have to take a small kind of vehicle like a auto rickshaw, and then you stop there a stoppage, then you have to walk like 1 mile or something like that, this type of area. And there is like there is some houses which is very far from that road. It's not really, there was no shop, no people, nothing. It's like a bare land, and it was like I was Friday that time. One of my colleague was there, because I was working with the 15 people from that particular area. So he was there for me, but that was a big challenge for me. Next challenge was that when I talked to the, my respondent, they are not, able to talk much, because during the noon time, their husband
Do you think that, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but the conversation is so, like, it's a social constraint that they cannot talk, or there's some kind of bindings, or they felt shy? What do you think about it? The respondents who are not able to, like, express their
I'm telling that part, because they are not able to express their inner thought, because there is some male person in the house, so they are afraid of expressing their thought. That's what I was saying, that when there is a male person in their house, they are not communicating at all. Then they say that, is it going to give me any kind of, resources, any kind of, money or something? Then this was like a prominent challenge, because I have to convince them that I'm not going to help you directly, but indirectly it's going to help you, right? But they were like some kind of that. Many NGOs working there during Sidot disaster, so they only thought that if any kind of NGO is working here, they are giving us money, they are giving us, like, any kind of resources, like anything that helps them, like food, like dry food, that's all. And the last one I was facing that women are not allowed to join any kind of training. I was like told all of my respondents, please come here, we can talk, we can resolve these issues, and only 15 was managed to come the training, because they are not what I would get by the training, is they are giving anything or not. Also, they are afraid to go anywhere because they have to take permission from their husbands or any male person from the family. So they are not like something, I don't want to take any kind of problem, so I am okay where I am. That's what I wanted to say. And what I did to overcome these challenges: one, I work because I had to work. Two, I just try to convince them much that please communicate. And for the third one, I try to convince the male person of the family, so that they can they can allow them to come to the training and like something get from the training. But only 15 managed to come there. So
but it's okay. I completely understand the perspective, because
yeah.
I have also faced those kinds of things. And I think the coping mechanism that you have said to convince them, to negotiate with them, it's quite hard to convince
really
them.
very common there, because you have to do it, because they are
Yes.
not allowed to talk.
Yes. So my next question goes to you, that what are your thoughts about the gender intersects the language-based map for better understanding of women who are living like under the poverty line? What do you think about this?
Yeah, it's a really good thing. They are mostly illiterate. I shouldn't say this word. They are not able to educate themselves, because there are scarcity of resources, also the culture, that. And that is why most of the women and children are like they didn't even pass the uh, pass the any kind of thing. They only write their name, that's it. So they are not able to educate themselves because of some problems or heartaches. So what I observed there is that this scenario goes for only women, not the men. They are going to school, they are going to college, they are moving from that place to another place because of education. Also, another thing, they men are after doing some education, they are doing some business, and they got that power. Yes, I have done something. Then they marry a girl, and just like this process is going since ancient period, maybe, because this scenario is like common, very common. You can say it's 90% families like same. I have seen something different. Some of the girls who are actually try to educate themselves, and but the problem is this educated woman married a man who is not that much educated. So scenario is the same, because that man is not going to allow you to do something, to do a job, to develop yourself, nothing. You have to stay in home, you have to like take care of your children and household chores. That's all you have to do. And then this scenario is going on. It's not only that, you have to take permission for going anywhere. You have to take permission for going in a cyclone shelter. Can you imagine? Because this is for your life, right? This aspect is actually described, everything everything, every situation of that, of those omens, what they are bearing right now.
Yes, and I felt like there is so much social construction and as well as the cultural determinants. Actually, these are the two factors who are really making those kinds of things that's going on day by day. And that's why I have heard a lot of stories like that women are not getting the permission to go to the shelter, and it's really needed for them to go. So I can really connect with all of the things. So like we are discussing about the Omen and their issues surrounding this thing. So my next question goes to you. What do you think it's important Omen to be the part of creating and implementing solution around this topic?
I would say that a woman need to be, develop herself first to save herself, because your life is matters. If you are educated, you marry a man and then you forget about yourself, that nothing going to be changed, right? And then I use native map because of native language based map because they were not educated. So native language Bangla will help them to understand what they should do, right? So in that aspect, I would say that a woman need to be like, conscious about themselves first. They need to be developed. They need to develop their self first. They need to think about themselves their first, rather than thinking like that about their poultry, about their cattles, their family. But you need to be serious about your life first, then you have to think about others. So this one thing can change many things. Like if you concern about yourself, you can take care of yourself, you can take care of your family, you can take care of others. If you develop yourself, like if you train yourself as a shelter, as a leader for shelter, shelter, for going to shelter, right? Then you can engage more a man for this purpose. Then you can make a change for this process. So I would say that first you have to train yourself. A woman have to train herself first, then he can develop anything, she can develop anything.
Okay, that's really important. Yeah, Omen, it's like I am also from that background. Sometimes I really saw that, like to see my grandmother and my mother, and it's like you can see that they're all the time thinking about their own family rather than themselves. So
and you will see the changes, right? You will see the differences because you are standing where and they were standing where. You can see the difference in your family. So like they are most of the women from that area is actually from our grandmother times. Like their thought, their their approach, they are talking, they're thinking, everything was that times. Now is that times. So they need to develop.
Yeah, I'm completely agree with you. But however, I think that like what I do believe that like our mothers actually they have faced those problems, and for that reason they want us to explore the world and to see the difference by our education and to do something. They have given us the inspiration to do great things in life, So I really understand they face those problems, but they are capable of us to do something great. Yeah, that's right.
This is actually inspiring.
Yes, that's true. And now I'm going to ask you about that. Why is it important for the Omen to contribute the point of view and their knowledge about the open maps related to this topic, and how you can feel that Omen can be more in the leadership position according to the theme that you're working right now?
Okay. I would say, I would say that you already mentioned that that change is beginning. So if a woman in a technology-based profession or this open map platform, she can develop herself, some of their, juniors, seniors, or some kind of them, and the surroundings, she can make a, good ambience for the next generation, like our mothers, like my mother, faces problem, and she thought that she's never going to let me face that problem. So if I engage myself in this platform, I will get to know the things, the problems, the challenges, the measures or solution, so that I can I can input more of my knowledge or more of my thinking to develop myself and my surroundings, so that going to develop my area, right? You can do the same. So if a woman involved here, she not only can help herself, but also the people of surroundings her area. So it is a very impactful thing, positive impact. We are facing adverse impact, but we can make it like something positive, because because of this platform we can change our views, our surroundings view, that woman can also be a tech person, woman can also be in this research area, so that we can explore this area and develop ourselves.
So my next question goes to you, that what is the main takeaway that you would like to give the audience to remember after watching this whole video?
Well, I would say develop yourself first, develop your surroundings, and then just dream big, that you can do it, that you can change the not only your surroundings but also your world, and your you can you can reach the apex. That would be a inspiration for all the women over the world, because you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it, right? That's what I want to share with you.
That's a wonderful takeaway, and thank you so much, Irene, for your wonderful contribution. And I think that the audience is going to really and they're going to learn a lot from this conversation. And I'm being blessed, and I think that I'm really happy to learn from you. Thank you so much.
No, thank you so much for your question. I was very overwhelmed to answer this question, because that actually remind me my project time, what I face. I really want to share that things with people. So this platform is giving me this opportunity. So I'm overwhelmed. Thank you so much.
Welcome. No, that's excellent. Thank you.
Thank you so much for attending this session. We were so excited for the opportunity to share with you how we are trying to reduce gender inequality in geography and increase women's perspectives on OpenStreetMap. To learn more about our programs, please visit youthmappers.org.